throughout this conference session, we will take you through the journey of this project, from the inception to the implementation. Our primary aim has been to streamline the disbursement of Erasmus Plus grants, making the progress more efficient and accessible to and to digitalize the whole process. So as we draw this project to a close, it is essential to take a moment to acknowledge the efforts that have brought us to this point. This project has been a collective endeavor, and work done, each of you, is very important. So we have shared insights, exchanged knowledge, and explored opportunities that will hopefully shape the future of Erasmus Plus grants. I would like to extend my sincere gratitude to all those who have contributed to the success of this project, not only to the speakers, but also to all people who worked in different tasks in different ways. Their efforts contributed to the achievement of MEGA. So thank you all once again for your time, effort, and engagement. It has been a pleasure to collaborate with you, with all of you. And I look forward to seeing the great things that we have accomplished together. And before moving to the presentation, let's dive into the agenda. So we will start with the general presentation of the project that will be made by our colleagues from the University of Lorraine. Then the key findings for the desk research and field research that we have done, and the presentation of the blueprint that have been built on Omega. Then we have a little space for networking and discussion together on this project. And then, wait for it, is the demonstration of the experimental software that has been developed during the project. And then we will finish this meeting with a roundtable.
Some research questions at the very beginning. Thanks, Salome, for sharing the screen. The first important question was how the different higher education institutions manage the grant, because we thought that it must be diverse. There must be some difference. So first, the research questions was how Erasmus grants are managed in different ways. The second was what are the average delays or another relevant indicators, because as we learn, students are disappointed by the grant management of Erasmus Plus program, and we would like to know why. And the very last question, the research question, was what are the trigger points in the management system within the various universities? What are the trigger points for the releasing of the grant money? So if we may move a little bit, and because these questions are very diverse, and of course the methodology must react to these diverse questions, and we designed the methodology according to these different groups that we would like to reach. The first group is students, another group are IROS, and the third group was like a national agency. So we customized the methodology to all these various groups. Salome, you may move a little bit further. Yeah. Yes. And this is a structure of the presentation. Of course, we will spend some time with the methodology, very little. We will go to the student survey. We will go to the IRS survey, and to the survey with the national agencies. And of course, there will be some conclusion. So let's move a little bit further to the methodology of the students. Salome, if you may. So we design with Selçuk University and our partners within the MEGA consortium. We designed online questionnaire within the SurveyMonkey, we spread the link among many of our partner universities. So it wasn't only us in a consortium, but also our partners. So you will learn about the final number. It was quite impressive. The question were design. You will see all this question, the design to reach the research question. What are the problems? If there are some problems, if the students feel that there are some problems, if they're in which areas the students perceived some struggles or constraints. And of course, we also target students who are not participated within the Erasmus Plus mobility program. And also we ask these students, what's the reason why they are not taking part in? Because there was a hypothesis that we believed that students who are not taking part in the Erasmus Plus program, they must have some worries or constraints, and we learned that also it's connected with the grant, because if the students are from like not very well social conditions, sometimes they are very worried about the money. Of course. And IROS, we basically address the IROS, International Relations Officers, with similar questions, because we would like to learn about the problem from the opposite side. So when the students pointed out to something, we converted and we asked the IROS where the problem can be. Because the first was the survey with the students, and after that was the survey with the IROS. And at the very end, we address national agencies, because it's maybe interesting to share. We would like to get to the, probably you are all from the International Relations Offices, so you are probably aware about the process. You know that at the end of the mobility, everybody, even us as a staff mobility for training or students, they need to fill up some survey, how they are happy with the grant, mobility, and etc. etc. There is a plenty of questions. And it's very difficult to access these data. Like the central one here in Brussels, we didn't get any. But we address national agencies, and we discuss with them their perspective, because of course they know about all the national universities, about the outputs from this service. So it was also a very interesting point from the national agencies. So let's a little bit move to the student survey. Yeah. So it took like 6 months to gather all these responses. We do some sensibilization, if I may say, or it's not sensibilization. We try to like promote our questionnaire many times. We try to also attract the attention by some prize, and at the end of the day, we received like nearly 4,000 responses. The exact number you can see on the screen, and you can see that it's not really balanced, because in some countries students the responses from the students were significantly higher than in other countries. You can see that Italy was like most frequent country where students responded to our questionnaire. And it's not part of our survey, but it's my hypothesis. If we continue, if we can address the same students, we do not have a like email address for everybody, so it's not possible. Hypothetically, maybe it's the country where the problem is, so not only one, but it's my hypothesis. We of course balance within the survey the answers and the size of the population, and it's basically the findings are quite similar. But for instance, in Germany, they received students some extra money from the government. Not in all German countries, but in some they received some extra money, and sometimes. And we will learn after that during the presentation. Sometimes students feels like sorry that there is a difference. There is not justice in that. Not even in how rapidly they received the grant, but also the sum varies a lot among European countries, because they sometimes do not realize, students, that the different policy which is behind. So some countries, some governments are supporting their students more than the others. So there are like big differences in this European Union. So let's move a little bit further to the Slido.
All time, the Slido.
So I give you some time to scan the QR code and to apply to the Slido. And the first question in the questionnaire was to the students, of course.
For students. And
have-
is according to you, did students know what amount of money they were going to receive before the Erasmus application? So you can see that mainly, according to you, they don't know exactly. And
So maybe we can move.
we can move. So 63% said that they didn't, and 37. The answer is Lukasz.
Absolutely opposite. Yeah, you can see that the students basically know what's the amount of the money, but even that 21%, 1/5 of the students, it's not confused. So it's like you're expecting some money, but you are not really sure what will be the sum. So it should be like 100% yes. It should be like that. So we can move to another question. It's a question about the installments. So we asked the students about the installments. You can see that the majority of university they are sending in 2 installments. The quite if I may say normal model is like to send 70%, and after the successful return, you will receive the second installment that cover the rest of the grant. Yeah, but imagine the situation that you received like you should receive the full grant from European Commission to cover your stay abroad, and your tenant asking you like pay 2 months ahead of your rent of the apartment, for instance. So you are like you have a big expenses at the very beginning, and 30% of your grants is in account of the university, which is doing nothing with the money, only like taking like some deposit of your grant that you will do your paperwork. So just sharing this, that quite normal model is 2 installment. Only a few universities do it in first installment. So yeah, next slide, please. And another question.
next question. Always according to you, again, when students they received the first installment, we have said that in the answer from Eduardo, it was very diverse according to the university, but what the all says.
Should we move?
Yeah, that's even 1 week before. Yeah, 2 weeks before. That's cool. But the majority said in the second week or more. And have you voted, everyone? And the correct answer, Lukasz, is
They're right. They're right. You can see. That's a problem, big problem, because even that students are not receiving same money all around the European countries, and it varies among universities, all the procedures. You can see that from the survey with nearly 4,000 students, you can see that the more than half of them received the grant very late. You have to invest your student money, like from your part-time student job or your parents' money, or I don't know, maybe some borrowed money, and you have to invest it because you pay the majority part of your invest in study abroad stay is at the very beginning. As we mentioned, you have to pay deposit for your apartment, you have to buy flight tickets, you have to buy insurance, all these things you are doing before the mobility. And when the university is like sleeping, okay, very fine. So we will release the money at the end of the month. Doesn't matter. Who cares? Only students. So let's move.
So we're right, lucky, actually.
So yeah. The other question is, what the percentage of the final grant you have received in first installment? You can see that it varies a lot, but correct answer should be 70 to 100%. It's a Erasmus guide telling us that we should do it like that. But you can see that some students, we should be aware of the first slide. The students, the 21%, they don't know about the amount of the grant. So it needn't to be true. It's a student answers. But you can see that some of them pointing out that they receive less than 70%. It's not even right. So it must be like more than 70%. Yeah, let's go to the next slide.
What percentage of the grant was sufficient to cover the students' yearly expenses before and the first 2 weeks of their stay, according to students? These are asked from student perspective.
Okay.
Half.
Yeah, basically, yeah. Let's move to the. Okay.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
So, next. The answer.
It's 50-50. Yeah, the majority of the students, they pointed out that with the 50% or less, it will be enough. So yeah, we can say, okay, they can handle it. They can handle it, but you can see that there are some students, like 20% of them who would need more than 70% of the grant at the very beginning, and for the first expenses, and another 23% they feel like 50 to 70. So altogether, a little bit your responses were like very close to the reality. But let's think about these students who are not lucky enough to have savings before the mobility. And we can see that a significant part of them from our survey with nearly 4,000 students, it's like 20% of them, they will need like basically all the grant or the majority part of the grant at the very beginning because they cannot afford it. And we are not speaking about those who never try to go abroad because probably this obstacle. So let's move to another slide. And that's a slide about if they feel like that was sufficient for the early expenses. And you can see that 1/5, yeah, fully sufficient. But you can see that there is a nearly 1/3 that the first installment wasn't sufficient. That's very important. The column with 27%. This column is very important because these people felt unsafe, insecure with the money that they received. Let's maybe move. Yeah, that's a question. When did you receive the full grant, respectively when the last installment came? And after the stay, you can see it's very frequent. It corresponds with the previous slides, of course. It's a normal policy of the university to like keep at least 10%. Quite usual is 1/3 of the grant after the mobility. Wow, what should people do with the euros? In some countries, you are not even paying with euros, and you receive the euros after your mobility. You can convert it to your local currency and hope for a good conversion rate. So let's move to the next slide.
And what are the needs of students? When is the best time for the full grant to be paid, according to students? Let's vote.
Let's vote.
After what Lucas was said, you think that students.
Yeah, you were right. Yeah, they were right. They guess right. Our guess right. Because yeah, of course, it would be very nice from the student perspective to receive the money before the mobility, and that's why our project is here to set up the conditions to receive the money before the mobility. Of course, you do not need money after. Of course, you need money all the time. But let's move to the next slide, please.
And more money, of course.
You may be confused that there is like a no altogether it's not 4,000, and I do not keep it in percentage because you know, we are getting deeper and deeper to the questionnaire. So imagine the student is already bored, like so we so it's like absolute number of people who get to this part of the questionnaire. So it's like roughly more than 1,000, a little bit. So how satisfied were you with the timing of the grant payment? Natural or satisfied, okay, but unsatisfied and very unsatisfied. You can see it in all the survey that it's like basically around 1/3 people who struggle and who have a problem. That's our people. Let's focus on that a little bit because the Erasmus should be inclusive. Everybody knows it, and and this is one problem that some people they struggle. They do not have their savings, and let's move to the next slide. Yeah. And it's a question where, of course, answer also the students who did not take a part in Erasmus. Just question if hypothetical, could the delay of the scholarship payment can be obstacle and influence a student's decision to go abroad? And you can see, yeah, agree, of course. that's how students felt it. And how important for you is to get a grant on time? It was a question. Again, we are using the absolute number because it's only valid for those who took part in Erasmus. And you can see that, yeah, very important, not surprisingly. Let's move to another slide, please. Yeah, that was an important question about the financial burdens when they felt some constraints with the scarcity of financial sources. So in the second half of my stay abroad, they are struggling, and of course, similarly big part they struggle the first weeks abroad. You can see that's probably our first third of people who do not have savings. They struggle in first weeks and rest they struggle at the end. So the problem that we are pointing out is that the delay in the grant payment is a problem because those who do not have a savings, they struggle at the beginning, and taking the part of the grant as a deposit for university to all the paperwork is done is also not really good because you are struggling at the end of the stay. So yeah. What the students' purpose to us as International Relations Office or to national agencies or generally to the society, which should be changed in this very successful program. Let's move to another slide. Yeah. Of course, amount of funding. I already mentioned that that's a problem that in some countries it varies. Some students, they receive only European Commission grant for the country they are traveling. Some students receive some extra money from their local government or from their national government. And altogether, sometimes they receive a lot of money. I don't know how it is now, but I see my Norwegian fellows over there. And when I met Norwegian students in Brussels 2007, when I studied here, the Norwegians were very wealthy. Like okay, everything's fine. So I received my 300 euros, and they have like more than 1,000. So I felt very jealous to them. And still, our survey they're pointing that there is a very big discrepancy in this. Of course, that's the students. They don't know that it's not Erasmus money. It's a mixture of the sources, but they feel it like very inappropriate. Simplifying of process. For us who are working in international relations offices, it's a very simple thing, like it's financial agreement and the learning agreement and transcript of records, and what's the problem? For students, it's very complicated. It's a tough, probably for many of them, it's a first challenge, first meeting with some bureaucracy, with administrative reality. So maybe let's do it like a little bit softer for them to accommodate to the adult society. And of course, the timing of payment. A lot of students. There was an open question, so we also gather some comments of them, and a lot of students pointing to the timing of payment as a big problem, the late payment of the grant. Number of installments I already mentioned, it will be repeating myself. And standardization, that was pointing that it's diverse. All the universities, they have a different system, even that's the same Erasmus program, all the universities do it differently. Accountability, communication, equity. Equity already mentioned. They like, it should be equal for everybody. You should be sure before your mobility when you receive your money and the amount that you can count on it. Because when you leave and you do not have anything on your account, and frankly, it happened also to us, not by our fault, our economic department, but yeah, some students call us, I am here, my parents sent me their last money and I really need the grant because I'm struggling. Okay, so let's move to the IROS. We reach 107 employees from the 32 countries, basically also Turkey because of Selçuk, and also some Balkan countries which are part of the Erasmus Plus program, and most of them Erasmus Plus coordinator, just to the sample. So we learn about who is responsible for sending the scholarship. I'll try to be a little bit quicker, and money is usually sent by financial department. Very small cases that the IRO is responsible. Not. So that's the reason of the confusion, because the student is meeting guys from the International Relations Office asking for money, and we are like in the same situation as the student, because yeah, because we do not have access to the university account. We wish, but we will call somebody in the financial department, and they are like, "Do you think that you are only one in the university? There is plenty of demands. Not asking me about this stupid one student. I'm totally not caring about him or her." Okay, so how do you monitor the student date of the arrival departure? So that's Salama. If you move to, yeah. The majority answer is that they monitor it by confirmation of training period. But there are some exceptions. Some universities that are even asking students like to show the flight ticket or the first metro ticket, to have some proof that arrive, yeah, like a date of arrival or departure. It's important. So and we move to the installments, yeah, and there is a lucky confirmation that the student didn't lie. International Relations Offices, they confirm it. 2 installments. So let's move to the Slido.
There are someone that answered 3 or more installments. That's quite big. Slido. What is the trigger point for the first installment in your institution? So when do you pay the first installment? Okay, what? Half for the private institution? Yeah, this is important because it's the moment where students.
Yeah, that's very important.
And we see that the majority is after the arrival at the institution that delays the payment, actually.
Exactly. We can see the
And the
yes,
answer is
so yeah, move. Answer is luckily in these 100 universities they are sending after the grant agreement signature more than half. But your response is quite often. A lot of universities send money after the proof. I'm here with a picture of newspapers with a date. Or something like that. You have to prove that you arrived because university is very suspicious. You can be fraud. The student can be a fraud. So yeah, let's prove it. At least metro ticket or something. Or yeah, that's true. Yeah, or confirmation, of course. Confirmation is happening to our office that especially southern countries, Spain, Italy, maybe even Portugal, I don't know, they're coming to our office to have a stamp, like, please. So I'm stamping the September, I'm stamping month. So yeah, and the students have to invest their money before. So yeah, let's move. And last installment, it's of course the confirmation of study training period. So yeah, when you arrive back to your office, show, yeah, my credits are here, my confirmation is here. So the last payment is released. So what percentage of the final grant do you provide in the first installment? So that's the same question as we ask students, and you can see the international relations officers, they know it because the audit can ask them. So like 70 to 100% absolutely okay. And some of them respond like 100%. And those who respond less than 50 or less than 70, they shouldn't do their work.
I think it's 50 because it's between 25 and 50 and 50. Maybe it's 50.
Yeah, they shouldn't be like that. It's against the guide. Yeah, and then we have a question. The very last in this section is when do you send the first grant installment? Just check it, please. And we can see that 2 or more weeks before the student mobility. Somebody's lying here. Because yeah, probably the students who respond our questionnaire are not the same students of the IRS officers that responded to us. It was separate studies. But you can see that the IROs are probably aware and they are trying to send the money before the mobility. And sometimes they are not successful, maybe because the financial department. And again, our prototype should help the university. So the question of the Slido.
How long does the payment process take in total in your university?
We are not really believing the IROs.
It's between 1 and more than 2 weeks. Yeah.
So let's move, yeah.
Let's move.
So it was a self-referring questionnaire, so we needn't to believe the IROs, but they feel like, yeah, days, maximum days. As students, they responded a little bit differently. So let's move to the next Slido.
This is about paperwork. How much time do mobility managers spend on paperwork with one outgoing students?
The student, if you remember from the previous study, students asked to have the process more smooth, more easy, because from their perspective, it's very bureaucratic, very long.
And for mobility managers, it is such administrative. With one student.
Okay, let's move. It's not growing. This is a little bit slight change. Few moments, okay. Yeah, we can move. It's less than day. They feel like, okay, they should not bother with a student like less than 1 day. From my office, as I after my 8 years in position, I think that one referee or officer should have maximum 300 students to like to handle them in the right way. So it corresponds to this, like the paperwork with one student shouldn't be more than 1 day. Yeah. Okay. So let's move. What needs to be changed in the grant management system of the Erasmus Plus? Um, the majority, the complexity of paperwork. So there in this point, the student survey and the survey of IRM meet together, like both ends, students and even the administrative workers, they feel the same, like it's too much. So let's do something with that, and our prototype blueprint hopefully help universities to do it simpler. Move please to the next slide. It was interview with national agencies. I used the opportunity basically in EI conference when I met like 7 of them, and some of them I met online. And we discussed these topics, and they felt sort of offended also that like okay, we try to do everything right, and that's the problem of the university, and we are only following guide and checking if the guide is followed by the university. So but some of them, they prepared themselves. For instance, Austria was very prepared. They printed out the results from the surveys with the students, and we spoke about the result. And there is no official way, and even the national agencies, they really don't want to like step into the competencies of the university to change it. So the change should be maybe a little bit from our end, from the end of the university to better the process, because in the Erasmus Plus program is designed sort of well, but we and within the space for our liberty, or some universities choose the way which is not very favorable for the students. And I believe that we should think about the students in the first place. So should I maybe point out that overall the national agency do not see the systematic problem, and they are also like pointing to the EVP, to EWP, that Erasmus without paper, to hope that when all the procedure is digitalized, that we will have a less work at the international relations office, and we can like border more with the grant payments, and not and the delay will at the end of the day vanish, because the complexity of the paperwork, as we mentioned before, will vanish because of digitalization of all the procedure of Erasmus grant. So it's very end. It's a conclusion. Okay, so we mentioned it. Simplify the process. Students ask for the individual support because they felt lost in the procedure. We should ensure the equal access to the students, especially in terms of finance. Clear and transparent communication. Again, our prototype is addressing that. We will see it after that. They also, the students itself, they ask for online platform, some even video tutorials, but online platform will also be part of our blueprint. And they provide, they ask for flexibility when the student is in need, to allow to send the money, like in different, to find a different solution for the student in challenging some financial burdens or something like that. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Lukasz. Do you have any question for Lukasz? Just please note that this report is available on project website. And if you want to know more about these findings, you can read the whole report.
Hi, so I work as a mobility coordinator, and some of the things, like some of the suggestions, what struck me was how tailor-made they would make our work. So also how impossible it is to dedicate to each student that amount of time. I mean, it would be wonderful, obviously, just not really realistic. And I was wondering if you got any feedback from the people of the study, if there was also that second step of verifying with them if the suggestions were deemed feasible or what their thoughts were regarding the results of the study.
Yeah, I totally understand you. Even in our case, we have like nearly 300 students in Erasmus going abroad each year, plus or minus, and it's not possible to like customize our system to everybody. And your second part of the question, yeah, there is the studies were separate, so there is like a we do not know which students are responding to us because it was, of course, we ask our fellows all around Europe, and not only ours. University of Nancy, University of Lorraine in Nancy, they also sent the link to their partners. So theoretically, I can connect it because with the IROs we collect like all the data about which university, etc., etc. And with the students, we are not collecting the names, but we are collecting the university. So, but we have not done it. It would be probably possible. It would be probably possible, but these cross steps, I was no need. Thanks for asking. Maybe if I have some spare time, I can do it. Or I can ask ChatGPT, maybe it will be quicker. I provide the Excel to the ChatGPT, and the last time I've done it like within a minute. Somebody from our consortium asked me about some things, and ChatGPT found it like within 1 minute. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Wait, okay. So you can. Thank you. Because I usually watch the slides. So the idea is to gather all the things that have been talking this afternoon in a technical solution. And in that sense, what I'm going to present here is the blueprint. The blueprint, and afterwards, our colleagues from Norway will present the proof of concept of the implementation of such blueprint. To create a blueprint, the first thing is to understand which is the workflow, which is the business process, which are the steps that are given for all the actors that are involved in such a complex process. And after understanding that, okay, that's perfect. We have to implement it in a technological solution, which is what I will present through a specific IT concept, which is an API. I will answer. Sorry, I'm not used to use a microphone. So anyway, can you, what's the next one? So what I already said, which is the most common workflow in the Erasmus payment process. As has been already said, it all starts with the students asking to the IROs the grant for going abroad and get all this grant from the IRO. So the first thing is to get that list of granted students, and the IRO is going to send that information to the financial department. The problem is that in the middle, there's a set of steps that have to be fulfilled, and that has a lot of paperwork, as already said our colleagues. So, the solution is a plan. The solution is a scheme. It's a description of such workflow and the description of which are the technological support for that process to be easily implemented, easily carried out in every European institution, higher education institution. And this is the specific point of the mega project. So After we have defined the blueprint, the idea, the scheme, the architecture of the solution, we have to implement. We have to check, or we have to test that this design, that theoretical design, can be implemented and can be used in any higher education institution around Europe. And for that, we need to validate it. And we do that through a proof of concept, in that case with our colleagues from Norway. Afterwards, we have to define how can our specific universities or specific higher education institutions do with that blueprint. And in that sense, I will present it afterwards. So the idea is that we have to integrate what? Not the blueprint, but the technological solution within the different IT systems that our university already have. Because it's very usual that the financial department has its own IT system, but also the IRO has its own database with all the specific platforms and security measures, even for all the students to communicate with all of these platforms. And in that sense, the best way to integrate, to make those systems collaborate, is what we call in IT and the computer science, we call this API, Application Programming Interface, which is a set of generic definition of what are the steps, which are the functions that have to be implemented in order for each of the stakeholders to call the other, to communicate, to integrate with the other platform or with the other system. Because it is true that sometimes those systems are made of IT solutions, but also are people that work there that make something. For example, he said about stamping a paper. It's not an IT solution, but it has to be done. It has to be included, somehow included. And if we can somehow ease that process through a IT solution, that would be much better. This is what we define in our blueprint, and this is what the proof of concept has implemented in that case. So the first thing is to define what is an API, to understand what's an API. The best thing to understand is could be, for example, when asking for a book to a library. It is true that in any university, our students usually asked in the past, not today, for books to the librarian, but the result and the process is more or less the same. In some cases, the student goes to the librarian checks in their database, they check for the book, go to the bookshelf and take the book. In other cases, the process would be different, but more or less it's the same. The idea is to be able to define which are the specific questions, the specific petitions that are asked to that librarian to be implemented directly in an IT solution, but with enough flexibility to be adaptable to any of the system of any university, but enough generic to be used, to be able to be used in any university. So the Mega API should be able to be involved in all these problems of granted student, Erasmus plus granted students, and should support all the business process or all the process defined for those granted students, involving all the actors in that case. That would be the IRO on one side, and on the other side would be the financial department. The idea is that the IRO is able to fulfill or to get a list, probably from their own database, with all the students that have been granted with an Erasmus grant. From that listing, the idea would be to transfer that listing to the financial department, in order to the financial department to pay directly to the student. If we are able to transfer all this information easily, seamlessly, and quickly, it would be possible to ease all this process that we are struggling with. And even more, if we are able to make this using an IT system that allows us to monitor all the phases of the process, that allows us to set triggers in order to some people or some actors, specific actors that need to do something specifically in that specific phase, that would be a great idea in that sense. And the final part, the final part of that service or that process would be the concrete payment to the students. There's in here arises a problem, or arises something that we should say how to implement it, is the fact that can the IRO pay directly to the students? Probably not. But the API should be able, should be able to define ways of creating ways to the IRO to more or less pay directly to the students, with the validation, of course, or the knowledge of the financial department. In all that API, there is a feature that allows us, or at least the universities, to trace all the process that will be useful for the students to understand and to know in which part of the phase, or which part of the process, is exactly they're asking for the grant. So, and why an API solution? There are many other ways of implementing this from a computer science perspective, but the idea is that an API is a standard solution. I mean, it's not a specific or programming language specific. It is a standard, a way that is a generic way of creating a solution that should interconnect to different platforms, to different IT systems. And in that sense, the best way of doing that is through a definition of those functions, of those common instructions that can be sent from one part to the other one. And moreover, in our case, the API is customizable in the sense that can be particularized for the different IT platforms or the IT systems that any higher education institution has in each moment. Because, of course, the platforms and the systems at every university evolves and change. The idea is that the API is enough generic to be updatable and upgradable with all the changes and all the particularities of each targeting platform. And in our case, for example, in Rey Juan Carlos University, we have 3 different systems. One with all the information from the financial system. We have a platform specific that only the financial department can manage. We have another one, which is the mobility management system, with all the information from the students and all the academic information. And the third one would be, that is the student information platform. And the third one is the mobility management system, with all the information from the grant, from the Erasmus program, and so on. The idea is that using an API, using a technological solution that interconnects all the phases and all the steps of this process, can avoid all, or at least reduce all this manual work, and try to enhance the real-time updates for the students. How? Well, maybe with a web page, or using a mobile platform, or using text, SMS text for students or any other solution that allow the students to know at every step of the process in which moment is within that process. And the most important, when will he be paid or she be paid? So the next also, okay, because in here we are looking for benefits. We are looking for benefits for all the stakeholders or all the actors involved. In that case, would be for the students, and the other case would be the university staff. Students, what the students want are information and money. So what do we get for those students? First, the status, information, knowing at each moment in which part or which step of the process is his run in every moment, allowing for the API to create triggers, to send information automatically to the student, or the student asking to the API, or sorry, the Erasmus platform for the information he requires. Also, real-time updates. Well, that's what I was saying about triggering and sending notification and so on. A user-friendly interface for tracking progress. That's what I say, that it's not only creating a web page, because it's probably something from the 2000 or 2010s, but today we are talking about ubiquity, we are talking about mobility, and we are talking about mobile technologies. And in that sense, it's not only to use a web page, but also technologies that are easier to use for our students. Finally, the money to receive the Erasmus grant without delay, at least in the first or 2 weeks before starting the grant. It would be ideal. For the university is what Vanessa said about I don't know the word that you used, serenity. So the university wants less paperwork and wants time. Serenity, right? Serenity, yeah. Actually, I would say that it needs time and resources. So in order to lower the amount of time dedicated to this process and to lower the amount of resources that are used within the university for that process is what the university wants. At least the high states the hierarchy, because if our financial department spends less time with the Erasmus project, they can spend more time in other tasks. So also information, in the sense that we can create a transparent process that minimizes student inquiries. That's what I said about time, not only resources, but also time, and increase the quality of the service that the university provides to the students. Also, the integration with existing university or other institution systems for smooth operations. The API also allows for lowering the complexity of the interaction between systems, but this is something that depends on the implementation, on the IT systems that every university has. It's not a perfect solution, but it's a standard way of connecting and interacting different system platforms. Finally, a digitized process that significantly reduces the margin of errors. Okay, I forgot to send you the money, for example. This is something that personally happened to me when I went abroad in Erasmus. Oh, sorry, you were waiting for that. It was a paper that was below all the stack of papers that I had that day. So digitalizing all these processes may improve the quality also of this process and be less error prone. Finally, with all as as usually happens with all IT solutions, we are looking not only for behavior, but we are also talking about quality attributes. In the case of a solution, IT solution, like the implementation of that blueprint, we are looking for quality attributes. In our sense, the main thing is to get integration. Integration with this, with the idea of connecting seamlessly. That is this is an ideal. This is probably the most difficult part of the implementation with the existing payment and mobility systems. Because even if you have a standard way of connecting, of communicating with all platforms, you still need some work of adaptation of all the programming issues to each of the existing platforms. Again, flexibility, modularity, scalability, security, and efficiency. I'm going to step on each of them a bit more briefly. Right. Well, integration with existing systems. That's what I said. We need to customize this API, which is a generic way of making question of asking several things to the IT platforms. We have to do it specifically for each of the IT platforms that each university has. The idea is to be able to smooth the data flow. I mean, in a way of transferring information securely, in time, with the specific data structure, and with enough safety also sometimes to get all the information where it has to be used. And the second point would be flexibility. The design of the blueprint and the design of the API in specific ensures flexibility of that solution in the sense that it can be easily adapted to each of the existing platforms. The reason behind this is because this API has been implemented using a technology which is called REST technology, representation and state transfer technology, which is based on web service technology, which is something that has been proved for the last 15, 20 years to be useful to make connection between different IT platforms. And in that sense, the API allows for these things to be obtained, right? Next. Modular deployment. The idea of the API is not to implement it directly, but to be able to create or to implement what the university needs at each moment, in the sense that the API is a huge development, but and defines all the steps, all the process, and all the interaction that a system needs with some other already existing platform. But if a university only wants to automate or to define some part of that of their granted process, it is possible to do it with this API. It's sufficiently specific to, or modular in that case, to be able to implement part and not the whole API solution. But not only to get the minimum implementation only, also the API allows us to scale that solution. What happens is the business process, is that process of Erasmus grant solution changes. What happens if that process evolves and includes some other institutions or include some other requirements and so on? The idea is that the API allows us to define new steps, new connections, new definition, new functions easily. And the API, by being implemented in REST, using a REST technology, also allows to connect with other platforms. and other solution like the mobile solution or another web page or whatever comes in the future. Yeah. Finally, what we are talking here is about money. So we need an information and money. What we really need here is security. We need to secure all the information and be able to define security measures for each transaction, for each message that is sent from one platform to another. The API, this way of implementing the mega blueprint, allows for the different stakeholders, the different IT professionals to implement security measures above this API, which is, I think, is a quite important thing to be also audited, okay, at every level. And finally, what do I need to implement that solution in our institution now, in our university? First, resources. Second, that blueprint, the description of the generic ways of connecting and implementing each step of the granted process, the Erasmus Plus grant process, and also an interface, a way of defining how all the actors will interact with this process. I mean, we can think about, for example, the current situation in which you need to fulfill that form in paper, you have to fulfill that form in a PDF, you have to fulfill that form in Google Form, on any other. The idea is that if you want to implement this in a seamless way, you have to define, normally, ideally, a common platform. That would be a web application, what will present as proof of concept our colleagues from Norway. It could be a mobile application. It could be the integration with the current IT platform that is being used in every university, because IT professionals already know how to modify, how to update, how to upgrade their IT solution. So they don't want to create a new web application, but they can just simply copy, transform, duplicate some of their existing IT solutions, but using below, could say, with using that API to connect with that the financial department and give support to all this Erasmus Plus granted process. Yep. And well, this is a PPN, and well, this is the description of the process that have been presented previously, but using a notation called business process modeling notation that describes all the steps, all the information that is transferred from one stakeholder to another. From the payment system, we could have the IRO also intervening this in this process, and all the roundabouts that the information and the money comes around. And I think that's the end of my presentation. Well, just as a conclusion, the idea is that in order to increase the speed and reliability of the Erasmus grant payment process, we have created that blueprint that describes all the interactions, and we have specifically defined a IT solution, namely an API implemented with web service technology, REST service technology, that allows us for getting quality attributes such as security, flexibility, efficiency, etc., etc. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Marcos. Do you have any question for Marcos before he leaves? Okay, so just one question. Yeah.
Thank you. I assume just that the dot at the bottom would be the final recipient for the grant, so the student, just to be fully clear. All right.
Starting point is the student or the IRO make some payment requests. And the idea is that the final point is the information to the student. I mean, the student may get financial payment or may get a refusal of the payment. That not be the ideal, but it would be that way. The idea is that this represents a process, which is an initial point and a final point. The way of reaching each that final point that could be different, depending on which is the ways that the information goes through all the model.
The entire validation process would be on the web. The entire validation process would be on the web app you were talking about earlier.
That's the idea, yeah.
So information coming in from the mobility side through the API, validation on the web app, and then going into the financial system through the API again. Okay.
And also getting we're expecting to have in all this medium process a database with a registry of all the events that comes from all this process, in the sense that we have to make a way of knowing in which step has something failed. For example, we have a registry and we have a trace. So the idea is to get also that traceability attribute for the whole system to get this quality.
Thank you so much for the presentation. I have absolutely no IT background, so let's put that as a premise. So
Okay.
when I was hearing about it, it sounds lovely. We have a 3-stage verification basically for the financial payment, so I'm sure it will save a lot of time to a lot of teams. What I was wondering is if you've had any estimation on the time that this would take to actually be implemented, the resources, because I can't help it but think about EWP that was sort of rolled out on universities without university having any real skill, not skills, but like the capacity in the mobility teams to implement anything like that. So when we're talking about this project, are we talking about university then realistically reaching out to an external provider to develop this application? Did you come up with any estimation of time cost that this would be for an average university?
Well, first of all, sorry for the answer. Depends. That depends. Well, sorry for the micro. That depends on two different things. First, the amount of people that the IT department you have under your availability. Because in our case, for example, I'm a computer engineer, and if I have to implement that API for a new web page from scratch, no more than 1 month. I would say that no more than 1 month. But the problem is or comes with the existing IT platforms. The problem is integration with the existing, I don't know, the financial department database, the IRO database, the interface, the human interface that the people working or the actors or the stakeholders working at the financial department, and to integrate the implementation of that API within that system. So in that case, I would say that I would need information about how that specific platform has been constructed. But talking as a computer engineer, pure programmer, I would say that it's not very difficult. The problem would be if you want security measures, if you want additional triggers, if you want additional traces or information to be sent or to be put available to specific people. That would be the different interconnection from that API to other systems. So the problem is not the mega API. The problem are the others. As always, as usual. But the implementing that API, I think from my point of view, is not difficult. And the API is enoughly described that our colleagues from Norway have made a wonderful work just with that information, I think. So it is feasible? Yes. It is possible? Yes. The problem are the others.
Yeah, correct. The problem is really the integration between this API and mainly the financial system that we are quite able to connect the API to the mobility system. We are quite able, especially those are homemade. The problem for our point of view, for example, for French system is to connect to the financial part, because we need security, we have rules at national level. Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
The system that manage the money needs a lot of specific, we could say, service level agreements with that
Control, security,
security,
validations. So as Marco said, the problem will not be the building of the API, is to provide a tailored solution which fits to which institution needs and which country needs. Because we are talking about legislation that are different from country to country, and we have to adapt it to each institution. That's why we wanted to this platform to be flexible, because we have very large panel of laws and regulations when we are talking about finance. Yeah. Other questions?
So I also come from a international relations background, not an IT background. So sorry if the question is a bit naive. I know that in some countries, we usually use the same information systems or financial systems or whatever. I understand that the configuration inside an institution can still be different, but I guess a lot of the basis would be the same.
That's why we define an API, because the API collects all the common ways of interacting with all these financial concepts and all these financial I wouldn't say laws, but I will say processes, internal process.
And so the question is then, does that mean that to some extent the work that the IT system doing the API, well, setting up everything would have to do could be made a bit easier if, for example, I don't know, Université de Lorraine would have already done it with information system similar to that of other universities or whatsoever?
Yeah, well,
Okay.
of course. That would depend on the system. That will depend on the implementation of the financial or the financial system in that sense. But I think that more or less the ways of paying, in any university is more or less the same. You need an account. You need the person who is the in charge of that account, and the person who knows where is the money and how to transfer that money to the other place. I mean, it's very simplistic, but the idea is that. And the idea is to be able to have a way of saying to that to that financial department or finance and IT system, okay, send that amount of money to that student in that account with that permission, I would say. I think it's quite common to do that. The problem is how that financial IT system is implemented.
Thank you, Marcos. Other questions? Yeah. Wait for the microphone.
Yeah. So I know that our software is not very open in the sense that importing data is not possible.
Exporting?
But exporting is possible.
What?
So an API wouldn't have anything against that.
Yeah, but the point is that if you are able to export your data to a specific data structure,
the API could be configured or will be adapted to take that specific data structures, to send them or to modify them to the financial department in the way that the financial department asks the data to be
Okay, but
constructed.
the way I imagine it is that a student would have like one single point of entry where he would find all the information that he needs, also in relation to the grant payment status, let's say.
Mhm.
And I think he would always find that information in our mobility software
The
system.
idea is that the
which is not
the
open.
interface is yours.
Yeah.
But the idea is that the students have the information. Instead of going to a desk
Mhm.
with a person behind that desk
Mhm.
and asking, hey, where's my money? You have a mobile application, or you have a web page in which you just click a button
Mhm.
and says, okay, I'm in the second step. And
Mhm.
this goes against the API that asks the mobility software or the financial department in
Mhm.
which step of the process is the
And
case.
Could I then imagine that through the API, a student would access the portal, for instance, of the mobility management software
Probably.
and find information related to the
Mhm.
grant status there?
In that case, you should modify the mobility management software.
Mhm.
But I think that again,
Mhm.
that depends on
Okay.
how that mobility management software is built.
Uh-huh.
But that depends.
Okay.
I cannot answer you
Mhm.
because I don't know that software.
And maybe
But the API,
in the continuation of the conference,
Probably.
we would have some visuals to better
Probably.
imagine it. Yeah,
Probably.
okay. Mhm. Thank you.
Yeah, you will have some clues on importing data on the platform that the system developed by our Norwegian colleagues allows already this. Yeah, so as Marco said, for the integration into your mobility system, you need to modify the mobility system. It depends on who did it,
how close is it?
how close is it, and if it's a no-made solution, it can. If it's of a big provider, it's harder.
That would be because sometimes it is a component of the self, it's a code that cannot be modifiable, and you have to somehow make a cover or something like that to overcome the problems or the limitation that the mobility management software has.
Come back and let's go deeper into the presentation on what we have done to the project. And so we have seen that we had the surveys that showed us what are the needs, the requirements that the blueprint should have. Then we developed a blueprint. Then, based on this blueprint, our colleagues from HVL, from Western Norway University of Applied Science, developed the first version of the proof of concept that showed us a possible implementation of this blueprint. And after that, we met together and we reviewed this proof of concept and for updating the second version. But before the second version, we want to show you our methodology on how to go from the first version of the concept to the second and updated version of proof of concept. And for that, I leave the floor to Katarina from the Polytechnic University of Coimbra. That will is qualities.
Yes, thank you, Donato. Now we will present you the information regarding the feedback that we gathered from the interviews that we made to students and staff mobility officers of the several institutions that compose the project. Because to support the students and staff, ensuring more efficient and security management of Erasmus grants, we plan to can you put this on? Thank you. Yes, but they are not there.
Yes, this is correct.
It's still
Yeah. So we plan to collect feedback on usability, functionality, user friendliness, and for Erasmus grant management. HBL developed the proof of concept to streamline the Erasmus Plus payments, ensuring time and transparent processes. And we want to test it with the partners. We collect about, we interviewed about 4 students per institution, including students with previous experience in Erasmus mobility. We interviewed incoming, outgoing students also, and also the mobility managers and financial managers of all institutions. Concerning the approach, we have several approaches for students and staff, different approaches. But before the interviews, students and staff were introduced to mega projects, its goals, and they received a brief overview of the project. For students, we show them the platform interface and allow interactive navigation. So they are able to see the platform to get inside. They have a name, a specific name, not test person. Yeah, a test person name, and they can follow the process of the timeline of the application. Then walk students through a simulated payment process to capture feedback. So we will collecting their feedback once they are using the platform. Concerning staff, there are 2 different approaches, or the independent interface exploration with interviewer observation, or a step-by-step walkthrough lead by the interviewer. It depends on the institution. Some institutions even make some focus groups, others don't. But the feedback are common, and we will provide you the results. The main key findings of the project concerning the positive feedback was the transparency. Students appreciated being able to track payment status, providing a greater sense of security. The platform was also found intuitive and easy to navigate for both students and staff. They think the usability is very good. And the reduced the need for follow-up emails by allowing students to check payment statuses directly was also positive feedback for them, both students and staff, okay? Then the concerns that both students and staff found during the using of the platform was integration with existing systems. As we already said here, the compatibility challenges with legacy systems are complex because of the government and regulatory institutions that are different from country to country. And also, there are some concerns over adaptability to different institutional requirements. So we have when we make the interviews, there are areas for improvement that we found. Some of them.
Maybe we should just say that people should look there for
Yes.
the notes. There's a delay,
There's a delay. Yes.
but you can see it there.
It works online though.
Yes.
Yeah, working online.
I'm sorry. Yes.
So the one is looking
Okay.
Maybe
Okay,
do full
so
screen.
there. Okay, the main areas for improvement that we found out, and some of them are already solved by HBL, is that we need to develop specific APIs and analyze compatibility with each partner institution. Mark was already talking about it before. We also experienced that we need to support for Excel file import and exports and automated exchange rate updates. We also experienced some problems with import files during our tests. And then some people said that we should include notifications and make some clear timelines to foster students' confidence in the process. Here, there's a lack, that's a common concern, that there's a lack of information about the data of the payments, because there is no information when the timeline to proceed. When the mobility manager approves, the financial manager approves, but we don't have a date to do it. And there is a responsive design for mobile and customization options. That's also a question for students and staff to have that option for mobile apps. It should also be clarify the roles of specific permissions and options for better management, because sometimes people don't know which role are from each mobility manager or financial management, who does what. And we also need to have regular feedback to ensure that POC evolves according to user needs. So even if we have more information, we need to have more information also at the platform. If we have different projects, we need to upload the information of the project. So according to the needs, we need to upload the platform. We are planning to have in the future a pilot testing that is more expanded. We need to select higher education institutions to gather real-time integration data and user feedback, because now we only collect the feedback from the partner inside this consortium. So we need to explore and go deeper under the partner and other partner institutions. We also need to develop tutorials and practical guides to facilitate the platform adoption, because now till now we don't have, probably we already have it, but at the time that we were testing the platform, there are no tutorials, so we need to go step by step with the students and the staff, and there are no material to help us doing that. And then the scalability, we also need to prepare for future Erasmus policy changes and growing participation. So this needs to be prepared for the new information of the new Erasmus calls and new Erasmus programs in the future. The main conclusions that we take from the benchmarking and from the feedback that we collected is that Mega Platform shows great promise in enhancing Erasmus processes, and further development based on feedback will ensure a comprehensive and effective solution. That's very important to have feedback from people to ensure an effective solution for this. And by addressing key improvements, the Mega Platform can transform Erasmus Plus grant management, benefiting students, staff, and higher education institution administrators. So we think it will be good, but you will see it now. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Evelyn. So this was the benchmarking after and the testing after the testing phase of the first version. Based on these, our colleagues from HVL made some progress. I think that are still ongoing. Some functionalities are still ongoing. But what the proof of concept reflects actually? So we'll see. And I introduce you Marit and Albert from Western Norway University of Applied Science.
Very long name.
Very long name. Thank you.
Yeah, so this is an example of how it can be done, keeping that in mind. To the left-hand side, it's the student's view if they're on a cell phone. It's basically a web page that you can view nicely on a phone. And then on the right-hand side, you have the administrator view where we as staff members will enter. Just quickly going to explain the boxes there because there are made some, for example, the external system, let me start there, that simulates the financial system that you have at your university. Because it will be different in each university, this is just a made up one. And then the add-on, that's a dictionary of terms that we've used in here, a list of words and phrases and a short description, which can be adjusted as needed. And then there are different roles. There's the mobility manager that many of us are. These are also here fictional, based on the book Great Expectations. There's a financial manager, and then let's go into the administrative view first. I'm just going to go through this here. At the top one, you can, I'm just going to find it here because it's a small screen over there. Yeah, you can first take if financial validation is required or not. At our university, it isn't. So that's an option to add that to the flow or not. We're going to keep that for this example. To the right, you can add the month, the day of the month that the payment is executed, if that's relevant to your university. If it goes every day, just leave it at blank. But let's keep it for at 15 or whatever for now. Yeah, so that's an ambulance or something. Yeah, this is for payments. And then the next drop down is the data import file. We rely on an export file from beneficiary module here. And that's because all the information about top-ups and green grants, etc., should already be decided. And all that information is available in the Excel file from beneficiary module. If you're going to play around with it, don't import real data, because this is a test version. And we're going to do that just in a minute. The next box is to manage the Erasmus projects. They are based on, this is an Erasmus project, so it is based on, obviously, Erasmus. The grant agreement number that you get from your national agency is the background, and then you can also give it a fancy name. So if you click Edit Project, then you can give it a better name than that. If you want to call it, this is the best one, this is the current one, or whatever. You can also here adjust the percentage that you pay in the first installment. We've only gone for a 2 installments option here in this test one. And then we, for a while, had exchange rates and exchange currency. But then, I mean, in Norway, we had to use that. But then recently we got feedback that we needed to pay in euros. So that kind of is obsolete. But we've left it there just to show that it's possible. And the final one, I think, is explaining when the final payment is paid. For us, it would be after confirmation of stay is sent in and a report is made, for example. Other people might have passport stamps or whatever. So you can add that to each project. And then save. And then you have different projects because you will have the one for Brussels, you will have International Credit Mobility 2023, blah, blah, blah. I think we're going to upload an Excel now. So if you just go ahead and do that. And hopefully, I mean, the last amendment here fix was made this morning, so hopefully there are no new bugs.
Six new students.
Great. And then if you go to the bottom at assigned students, they are now I mean, again, based on the list from beneficiary module, they will be connected to one of the projects that are here. If the project is not here yet, it will pop up by itself. Yeah, because when you add your student to beneficiary module, it's already connected to a grant agreement number. Yeah. And then what you need to do here is basically add these students to a manager, mobility manager. You can add all to one if you want to.
You're going for Philip, right?
Let's go for Philip.
Joe.
Oh, Joe. Okay, Joe. We usually do Philip.
Oh.
Okay, so they disappear from the list. The other one is just a random test I made that didn't even have a name. So let's ignore that one. Going back here, then Joe will enter as a mobility manager. They will of course sign in, but this is a test with fictional characters. They will get these students on their list. You can see, I mean, I can sit here. Yeah. You can click on the name and then you get sort of the dates, etc. This will show more later, and also the address and bank accounts. It's optional. I mean, you can add more things if you need social security numbers, etc. But for now, it's this. And then the student will go log into their side.
I need to refresh.
And if you pick one,
Theodore Grinch.
then you add the address and the bank account and confirm that this is correct.
I'll use my bank account so you can give me money afterwards.
And then that shows the student a very simplified 4-step process for both of their grants. Shown in green because there's nothing wrong yet.
Now you can see that.
Yeah, and the information is updated on the administrator side. If you go back to Joe's page, there are several options here that I thought I might just quickly talk very briefly about and then not really show. You can filter on academic year and then also on the different statuses. And then dates and sort and filter and do stuff. You can also toggle at the top there to show the students that are not assigned to anyone, if that's the case. And that's the one we left on the list earlier. And you can also at the bottom deactivate a student if you for some reason need to do that. Sometimes there's a student that
For instance,
withdraws. Yeah, you can deactivate that one.
no valid bank account, so I
Oh,
can't
yeah.
do anything. Never mind.
That's fair. Anyways, let's release one of the payments for Theodore, for example.
Not right now.
No, but that's an easy fix. So now this is sent to the financial manager. And obviously the mobility manager can also cancel if needed. And let's look at the student page. It's now on the second blob. And then if you enter as a financial manager, then you should get Theodore and you can release that payment or cancel. But let's release it now. And then Theodore should get that updated in his system. And then you see at the bottom there, it says the expected payment date. Because the approval by the financial manager was done before the 15th of this month, then that's the expected payment date. If it was done on the 20th, for example, it would be 15th of January, because that's when the next payment is going from this fictional university. So then they at least know when it is expected. Sure. Sorry.
If you haven't the giftings on the
thing.
Seeing section, thank you. Would the payment be done the next day, the following day?
Yeah, that's the idea. So in our university, we do the payments every day. Or it just is issued from the payment system, and then that would be it.
Is it possible to define instead of the number, the Monday, Tuesday, the day of the week? Or
Probably. Yeah, you could probably adapt to whatever you need. Basically, it's an IT thing, just to fix whatever you need. Yeah.
The main thing here is that when we chose to have payments on the 15th, we will never reach the payment complete step on this student because we can't wait 13 days to
We
see.
can.
Oh, we can.
Yeah.
Oh,
Because
thank
that's
you.
when we enter the financial system. I hope you still haven't sort of fallen off here.
Here.
Yeah. And then get queued payments, that's the API that we're using. And then you firstly initiate payments, because you need, that's just how the system's set up. And then you mark it as paid. You can also mark it as failed if for some reason the bank account number wasn't valid or whatever. So, but this would be done through your home financial system. And then if you update the mobile for Theodore, it is paid and it's green and everyone is happy. And then going back to the mobility manager. Hopefully we can now see Theodore's final payment popping up in the list. It doesn't show before it's available, because you can't pay the final one before you pay the first one. That's just how we set it up here. But let's say that Theodore was there a month shorter and his final payment needed to be fixed. If you could fix that for me, Helvet?
I can try. I need to find the file first.
What we think would happen is that you update beneficiary module with the correct dates, and then you get the new sum. That's basically what we're going to do. It's all the way to the right.
Theodore. Boop, 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 boop.
And in the meanwhile, I can tell you that
Find it first.
the slider on how much you're going to send in the first and the second installment can be adjusted during the project. But if Theodore has been paid 70% in the beginning, he will not be affected if you put it at 50. So he will still get 30 at the end and not an extra 50, kind of. So if you update the sum here, well, actually, it's
Excel
a very
files.
long Excel spreadsheet from beneficiary module.
This was him, right? 900. He
Yeah.
was the topmost. And now he gets
200.
200. Ooh.
Because he wasn't nearly there at all.
Now I need to save it. There we go. Fine, we have updated from, we have now updated from beneficiary module, but I just updated the number instead in this horrible Excel file that's beneficiary module makes, not me, not us.
And then going to the administrator view, you add that or import that new file. And then you get no new students because they're all the same, but one has been given a new amount. So let's go back to Joe's page, the mobility manager. Then you get Theodore at the top. The amount is negative quite a lot. And then in the comment section, you see that the amount has changed from this to that, because I think that would be useful sometimes to see what's actually happened. And let's update Theodore's page. He now has a red one. As I said, you need to pay us money. And then we can release that from the system as well. And then again, go through the steps with the financial manager.
It's back.
I think we're back. And then release that. And Theodore's page will update accordingly. And then as you can see on the, you will see on the fourth blob in the red, it says invoice issued. So that's when the invoice is sent from our university to the student that they need to pay back. If you can go to the external system or the financial system, and then I hope you're getting it up there, and then mark that as paid as well. Initiate it first. And then hopefully it should come here. We haven't added any dates that it needs to be paid by, but that should be visible on the invoice, for example. So that's basically the process, I think. What's red? The red one is because they need to pay money back. Okay. Because the grant was changed, because they weren't there for as long as they were planning to.
This was an extreme example.
Yeah.
Sorry, is there any penalty for the students until it is read what you need to pay?
I think that would depend on the individual university. For us, it's not. It's
So how do you deal with students that don't pay back what they need to?
Police.
No, we haven't really had that experience actually, but it goes through the financial system. The invoice is issued, and then I suppose there's a
when you ask twice.
a
reminder.
A reminder, yes. Yeah.
And then eventually, I suppose we'll go to incasso.
Incasso.
Yeah, so it will follow, at least in our university, regular processes for invoices. Yeah.
We in Portugal, if necessary, we can use, I don't know how to say in English, but maybe coercive settle by the Portuguese law. The state could retain some funds of the person, of the individual. So we never use it because it wasn't necessary, because we provide some time for the students to pay, and even they can pay slowly by each month a small amount in order to regularize the situation.
Yeah, and I'm sure that that's possible to adapt here. You can add your little things, but it's also a matter of how your financial system works. And that's kind of the external system that's fictional. Yeah, I think that was what we were wanting to present to you. Please ask questions. You can turn again if you want.
I can say to those of you who think this sounds a bit complicated to implement, that we already have this. This is the mega version, but we already do a lot of this in our system at home already. Automatic payments, and yeah, so it's definitely possible. Absolutely possible, and we recommend it, right?
Yep.
You are,
Yeah.
okay, you are from 6 or 7 universities. I have to say, it's a really nice idea. What about your financial departments? Do they all say, yes, we can do it? Because I think I can't manage it in our university. In my university, Germany, always needs 2 signatures.
Well, our financial department said yes. We scheduled a hour-long meeting with them to discuss, and then we ended it after 15 minutes, and they said yes, this is possible. But I think also we've been very lucky that the international office's path to digitalization more or less started with the financial department because they wanted their stuff digitalized and more efficient, and we jumped on that. So we've been very lucky there, but it's
But I think what we kind of just simulate with a click here is the external system, right? And the external system can be almost anything as long as the endpoint there is this is approved. So if you need a person there to print out something and go somewhere and have it stamped, and then at the end, as long as someone has approved it at the end, so that you have a data point that can go back into this system, then yeah.
And also, in our case at least, us clicking here, that's one approval. And then the second one will, for example, be the financial manager or the head of the office or whoever does it. We've discussed it with the financial guys, and it doesn't need to be 2 approvals within the financial system. It just needs to be somewhere. And if that's outside of that, it can be whatever you want.
Just to complete the answer, during the project, each partner had a focus group inside its institution with the financial officers and legal offices also, and to check the feasibility internally to adopt this. And so we have seen that for some institutions it's more easier than others, and but I think that is that possible in almost every institution, even in our institution. That I thought it was very complicated. When we had our focus group with the financial office, they said yes, it is feasible under these conditions. Of course, the conditions are not very easy to accomplish. Yes, but it is possible. It's a process, but it is possible actually.
And I think the hardest part is probably that.
Yeah.
To change the way the university works with grants, for example. And that's not only dependent on a digital solution, that's just a routine change and a way of working that needs to change. And that's always hard, especially not coming from themselves.
I actually have a question from a student perspective. Let's say that I use this mobile app and I have problem, the technical problem. How do you deal with it? Should I address my university IT department, or through the application I directly require for help? How does it work?
I think ideally, this is obviously just a test version. So if you had a problem here, it would be easier to contact us. Ideally, it would be, well, I want it into the EWP so that someone else can do that. Or your university. I don't know how it would be set up. We haven't really discussed that.
You can ask Joe.
Yeah, your first
or Philip.
Your first point of contact, and it will show on here as well. For example, you won't get your payment yet because you haven't done whatever, or it was cancelled, because that's all. We can show you a cancelled option if you want. But then a text will come up that says, it was cancelled because your bank account isn't valid. Please contact your mobility manager to assist. So that's if there's a problem with the process. But if you have a technical problem, I suppose IT would be the way, depending on how each university sets it up.
For the presentation, as far as I can see, I see 3 things. So a grant management system, a system that allows the student to know exactly where the grant is at, and also a validation, an internal validation system, if I'm understanding clearly what I saw. In our university, we already have a grant management system. And of course, the part where it actually updates the students is fantastic. And I I would love this, but I wouldn't want to actually switch my grant management system. So my first question is there anything that can be done to actually have the publication on the app for the student and still retain the grant management system we already have in place? So technically, I don't know what's feasible there.
I don't either because I'm from the international office, but I think so. I would assume that it's possible.
Power of the API.
Yeah.
API is a solution.
Yeah.
I got that. So,
yeah, no, but I wouldn't expect everyone to be able to do it because, as you say, you have a functional system of your own. But for those who don't, it might be a way forward, I guess.
And the other thing that I saw was this was a grant approval system between the mobility management office and the financial office. So in our case, we go through a pretty lengthy and heavy process. And there was just one click done, everyone pays, awesome, I love it. But yeah, okay. So in our case, we have to transfer a lot of documents to our financial offices. And would this be something feasible through this platform? Like we could actually not go through, we go through a ticketing system. So would this replace the ticketing system so we could transfer some data to the financial offices to recheck and approve behind us? It's pretty much.
I can see that the IT people have gotten the microphone, so.
Yeah. I have understood the question. Can you put your microphone? Sorry. Thanks. That's what this.
For the second part of my question, yeah. When we see the part where basically the mobility unit approves the grant, it goes over to the financial officer, and the financial officer just manages the payment. In our case, we have to transfer a lot of documents. We have to basically ask them to recheck an entire bunch of documents to actually allow the payment. Could this be something feasible through the application? Because right now we go through a ticketing system. And so I was wondering if this was a possibility for us to streamline this process.
Yeah, probably, because the API allows to transfer documents or data in a structured or semi-structured way. So the documents in that case are semi-structured information, and is that possible through the API. The point is that the financial department, you say that it has to validate all the documentation. Let's remember that the financial department is just a department that receives the money from the community, and the point is that the only thing that the financial department has to do is to free the money, but the responsibility of doing that and checking all the documentation. Theoretically, it shouldn't be the financial department, but the IRO.
Well, a different system, different countries.
Is that possible? Yeah, yes, absolutely.
I hear you, but that's just not the way it works for us. But and the first part of my question is, if we already have a grant management system, is it feasible to actually use Mega on our grant management system to basically have information connect to the student app?
I think that I answered something very similar in my presentation when I said that if your mobility management system allows to export data in a structure, whatever it is, and the only thing that we should do in the API is to create a new transformation function to transfer your data structure to the mega structure. You say the mega structure, or the way that the financial department collects the information. But the only thing that you should do in your mobility management system is to check that you can export your data. Afterwards, it is the responsibility of the IT department implementing the API to take all this data structure, your Excel, your doc, your PDF or whatever, and transform it to send it to the financial department.
It would be feasible, yes. It would be easy. That depends on the construction. Thank you. No.
Thank you for the presentation. I mean, most of the questions that are being raised are basically how we function internally. And I mean, that's normal that Mega doesn't have the answer to that. That's also part of the digitalization process. At least the way I understand it, it does encourage us to revisit the way that we are doing things. And in the case of many of us, how we handle our financial department, which is often a very, very difficult topic. My question was, we always have exceptions. Like, for instance, one student that was supposed to repay, according to the beneficiary model, let's say 300 euros, but for some reason it is decided internally that they're only going to repay 100, and then the university will consider the debt to be paid. Or someone who was supposed to receive 30% and then 30%, but for some reason it was decided that they would receive 30% sooner. Any case that is not basically the basic situation we're supposed to have in an ideal world. And my question was, in the development, was it taken into account that we might have sometimes to bend the rules and basically make the ideal situation closer to what happens in real life?
Can I just answer that question with a thought first? We have thought of some of this. But why is it that in internationalization we bend the rules all the time? Because we do, all of us do, and it's cancer to digitalization. Because no matter what you make, someone says, "But what about my little exception?" So yes, yeah, that's a good way of turning it around, because we want to be flexible. But when you try to make something, and we have had extensive digitalization projects in our institution, and we made fantastic systems, and then the teacher education program does something completely weird, and our system doesn't, and then we spend 100,000 euros making something for them, and then yeah. So it's a challenge with every kind of project. But we have taken some of the things you said into account, such as if the 50-50 or 70-30 thing changes. That's been accounted for in this version. But otherwise, this is, as we've said, it's a blueprint. So when you, that's maybe going back to the scalability question as well, right? When you release this into the world, you haven't thought of everything. Absolutely not.
But it's also that in this platform that it's built, it's possible to make modules. It's possible to add things, etc. So if this is the platform one would go for, it's possible to make all sorts of adaptations, also for documents that people need to upload, students need to upload, etc. But it's, yeah, we haven't done that within the scale of this project.
Maybe a matter for further development of the platform. Yeah. And the way of recalculate, you included it when you introduced the re-import of the Excel file. Actually, it is this kind of data. The platform recalculated according to what it was in the beneficiary module. It was recalculated. So yes.
But I think it's easy to not easy, but there's a lot of things that we do that can be done, but hasn't been done in this version. Absolutely.
Just is that one of the adaptations might be that students would see in the system how the different grant components add up to the total sum and what part has been paid already, like for instance, the green top-up or the top-up. That is probably something that you had imagined, but it's not in this case.
Yeah, you could do that. It's yeah, because that's data in that Excel sheet that comes out. So you could probably add that as well, but we've only based it on the final sum.
And that is one difficulty to integrate as well the generation of the grant agreements inside, because we have all these top-ups and calculation. So it's not as easy as it should be. Any other questions?
Perhaps not a question, but I always try to have a lot of transparency for my students, but we are a small campus. We have around 80 agreements within Erasmus, and you have always this amount. I think most of the universities do it like that. You have this first amount you pay with the percentage, and then the second. And the second, I have to say, we have one university, and this is the Western Norway University of Applied Sciences. Thank you so much. Where we really know the exact dates, the first date and the last date, and it's always like that. But all other universities, it depends on the exams. So the full amount, you can't say from the beginning. So I ask myself, why are there such a lot of universities? They can say this is the amount. I can say this only for one university out of 80. Only here at this point, not a question, but I think this will be the case with a lot of payments within the universities. And the first one is always really fast in our university, because we know in the beginning what will be the amount when we plan, because we always pay for the first 100 days, that's it. And this amount will be within this percentage, and so this first payment we can do really quickly. But the second one, it's not possible if you have such a system or not. And yeah, only, yes, some words to this concept.
But I think I agree with you, and I think that's probably a small little criticism of the Erasmus system that's being so dependent on the exact dates. That makes us having to do that as well, and it's a huge challenge.
Sorry, don't they have the mobility contract with the dates of the beginning and the end? So the amount of the grant is calculated before their departure, right? I mean,
we only have the what the students think what will be the first and the last month, but not the real date. Within the learning agreement, you have the months and the year, the month and the year.
But in the mobility contract that they do with the university,
The grant agreement.
the grant agreement, sorry, yeah, the grant agreement that.
Yeah, but it's, I guess it will be like that.
Yeah, but they should have the beginning of the mobility and the end. They will have a date.
They will have a calendar, the host institution.
Yeah, but what about the calendar? It depends on the last exam.
Usually in our institution, we use the classes, the time of the regular classes, not the exam period.
Usually.
Yes, so you have some universities take their half a year for the semester, some others the dates for the classes. But sometimes there is a welcome week before, sometimes not. Sometimes there are welcome days before, sometimes not. Sometimes you have the exam at the last day of your courses. Sometimes you have it 1 month later.
We have that problem, but we decided to use the academic calendar of the host institution. And all students, if you go to Poland, all students for that institution have the same dates, according to the academic calendar of the host institution.
So we also have a collaboration, but it's always in the end, the confirmation of stay, the confirmation of arrival and departure, it's another date than in the beginning. But I only have one out of, okay, our students don't use all 80 corporations, but let's say they use 50. And it's only one university out of all. I know this date will be the exact date.
Excuse me, we have a question here, but I was just going to say that that's the point of the calculation of the second part, and that you load back in the new amount that the student gets. The new calculation will show up.
There's
Please.
not a question, it's much more like an answer,
Mm.
because like, as a student, we, of course, we know how much, or at least in my case, we know how much we're going to receive. And in my university, for example, of course, they don't know, when will be the last day of Erasmus. And according to that, then it's recalculated. But of course, like, I take example, my Erasmus, I did from, September, 1st of September to the 31st of January. My last exam was like, I think it was 28th of September. So my school actually told me, we can like, you can do the computation, you can do the numbers, you can do like, see if it's 5 months completed till the 31st of January, you receive this. But then there is a recalculation, and they said, we don't pay, that's why they don't pay you before, because they say, we avoid you the problem of giving us back the money. But it's really up to like to university, I guess, because it's the same case when you have to give money back. It's very, very weird. It would be very, very weird for a student, like, except weird cases, to leave, I don't know, 3 weeks before. Usually, you know, the period of the exams. So it's always like maximum 1 week of like of gap between.
Maybe we do this in the panel discussion. Mm.
28, not to the 31st.
Of course, because they asked me. Yeah, they asked me.
Yes, I only say it's not here in the beginning. It's not a critic for the system.
Sorry,
It's a reason, I guess.
sorry to interrupt you. Maybe we can move, but what we are doing in the framework of this project is also to give some kind of policy recommendations to institutions, to the European commissions and to national agencies in terms of how scholarships and grants are paid. And one of our recommendations is to go out for these day payments, but it's to make payments on the monthly basis or semester basis that avoids this kind of hard calculation. It's also, we know this, and this is also one of our recommendations that we will give. Yeah, on this project. Thank you very much, Vadit. Thank you very much, Alvaro and Katarina. All of you. It's the final part of our conference. It's a roundtable, a fun discussion on those subjects, actually. And I want to call on stage Lenka from Menzer University. She is our classmate. Paula. Let's I go. Okay. Cannot smoke this. For the whole panel is what are the main obstacles and challenges you encounter in the management of the Erasmus Plus grant from your specific point of view, starting from Simone.
Okay. Can you hear?
Close.
Can you hear me? Okay. So actually, I found out that most of the topics that I wanted to bring up today were already covered during the discussion, but I still think it's nice to give some data. Actually, for those of you who doesn't know, ESL is a student-led organization that deal with Erasmus. as the name also said, but with the internationalization of higher education more in generally. Every 2 years, we have our biggest survey, which is called ESN survey. This year, this edition actually gathered 23,000 responses from all around the continent, but also from other countries. And there are many issues related to grants and scholarship when we analyze these data. One of the main problems, obviously, is that it was already covered, is the inadequate grant amount. Actually, it was estimated by the students that they spend around 800 euros per month, while we know that monthly Erasmus Pass grant is around 478 euro per student, which actually means that there is a short of 300 euros more or less. However, I want also to show the positive side and not just the sad news, let's say. And actually, compared to the previous edition of our survey, there was an increase of 100 euros on average, which is, however, not enough. This is also due to some problems, such we have been discussing about it, which are the co-financing. Some countries have the pleasure to, some students have the pleasure to also enjoy, let's say, the co-financing that comes from the national and regional authorities. This is, for example, the case of Spain, while in many other countries, like, for example, Italy, access to regional co-financing creates some disparities because not all the region allowed, for example, to this kind of opportunities. Something that we also have been discussed is related to timing. Most of the students show that they receive their grant 30 days after their arrival, which actually may represent a problem. Also because despite the actual existence of top-up grants, there are so many barriers that are related to student mobility, and it's important to remember that a lot of time is difficult to target these fewer opportunities, these challenges individually. So actually, both providing a higher baseline for the grants, but also a prepayment of the scholarship could support students in facing this type of challenges. Also because I want to give some data, normally 62% of the students were asked by their landlords to pay 2 months of 1 or 2 months of security. Actually, housing is one of the biggest problems because around 30% of the scholarship are spent just on housing, leaving not a lot of money for the rest of the expenses the students have to incur. So even though actually housing is not directly related to grant, I would say that together with the timing and the amount housing is one of the major issues the students have to face nowadays related to the grants.
Thank you, Simone, for this very complete answer. And I have some question to Mathieu from the national agency. What do you see as many challenges in grant investment?
Yes, thank you. So as national agencies, we are not directly involved in grant management. We are mainly here to remind you the rules of the program. We are vigilant for transparency of the rules, equity in grant awarding, of the process of payment, of course, and your responsibilities. But we are aware of some issues because we mainly see the problems, because when students reach us, it's for complaints. So we know that there is some complaints over too long terms of payments for students, but we know that sometimes it's not only a responsibility of international office, because it's quite a long term and of things, and sometimes it came from financial departments who have more things. there is sometimes also a bad knowledge of students of or misunderstanding of grant calculation, of grant awarding. We have many students who are going an Erasmus with a non-Erasmus grant, but from another grant, and sometimes they don't know if they have an Erasmus grant, a national grant, a regional grant. So there's kind of misunderstanding for students who have it. Sometimes we just have to remind students to get in touch with the institution to check, because sometimes student doesn't answer also and give paperwork in the right time for people just to be able, and they are not always aware of how it works, because things are just sent the bank information to international office and it's done. They don't know how it works. So things, and as national agencies, or as if I take my former job as mobility officer for quite some long time, I know that this grant management is quite a tough part of our job, of your job now, because you have to make understand students what is the grant, if they have a grant, to get all documents of them, try to manage to have each student a grant with, we know that less funds coming from governments, from the European Union, and so we know that it's quite complicated. Things to do, what we advise is at least to know students to be able to know at least what they have before going abroad. It's the minimum way. Sometimes I used to say my students, I will not always be able to lever the financial part, but at least you will go abroad knowing what you have if I'm not able to lever it. I know that, speaking from my point of view now as national agency, I have to tell you to make prepayments of grants for students. But even as national agency, we know that it's quite a tricky part, because you have students who cancel their mobility and they don't advise you in the right time. So we know that it's true, but there is a difference between making a prepayment and that student have to wait a full month to get his first installment of grants. So I think I think it's nearly all of it.
Interesting point. Some question to Paola and Silvia from a financial perspective. What are the challenges and barriers?
So in our case, in the University of Coimbra, are you listening? Yeah, okay. In our case, the biggest challenge is the number of applications, student applications versus the money that we receive from the national agency, because most of the times the money that we receive is not enough for all the students to go abroad in the period that they wanted to go. So our students, when they sign the grant agreement, they know beforehand how much they will receive, but most of the times is not for the complete period. And then we have some dropouts. And then after the dropouts, if they receive a little bit more, that's why I was wondering, how do you collect the money back? So most of the times the problem is when they receive the money and they decide to come back earlier, how do we manage? How can we put it in the system for the students, for them to know that it's mandatory to return the money? So that's the biggest challenge. The money, it's not enough.
Yeah, of course, for the student, from the university, to be fun back. So we have some, I think about some methods students feedback. Thank you very much, Silvia. Lenka from an international office.
Yeah. Can you hear me? Yes. Okay. So I think my colleagues here have already said the main program challenges, but I think that it's important to mention that sometimes big challenge for us are students themselves. Because for example, our university, our institution, students receive the first payment after they signed the grant agreement. Yeah, and of course they have to have all the documentation with all the signatures and so on. You know very well the all procedure, but. Many of students, they wait until the last minute to submit documents and sign the grant agreement. So, for example, the student comes to our office to sign grant agreement one day before he or she is leaving. So it's impossible for us to manage the payment at time. Before the beginning of the mobility. So I think this is also very important to mention because it's not only on the IROs or the financial department, but it's on all the parties. So even as well.
One should play its role. And thank you, Lenka. And talk about those bodies. How do you have some best practices to highlight to overcome these bodies that have been identified?
Okay, so I think the most important in all type of barriers is an effective communication with all parties, financial department, students, and so on. For example, for us nowadays, it's very difficult to solve problems with our financial department because there were a lot of personal changes and so on. And we realized that there are no fixed processes in our institution, and the people don't know how important it is for students to receive it. Yeah. So basically the communication and our effort to discuss with them, to open their eyes and so on, it's the best way how to rest effectively in my personal experience. And also I think very important is to have in mind that you won't find the ideal solution. Yeah, it's very difficult. But it's important to be very proactive and active in searching the best solution for your institution. Yeah, for your processes you have, for the departments you have, the institution, and the problems or the also the lack of, for example, IT solutions you have. And I think it's very important to know that you won't find the best, the ideal solution, but the best you can find in the environment you are. So I know that it's not very detailed, but
no, it is exactly the solution is to have a very good exchanges with all parties inside the institution.
Yeah, definitely. And discuss with them, with students also, explain them, and don't be worried that your department or you have committed some error or things like that. Yeah, it's always about the good communication.
But the university also is a good contact is, as you said, you pay the scholarships at the signature of the academy.
Yeah.
So it's already better than one that pays
After the arrival.
confirmation of arrival, for instance.
Yeah.
So it's something good that you went to the university. Matthew, and to what extent do you think digital platform and Mega, I don't know if you have followed the conference now, but Mega and other platforms can participate in the digitalization strategy of Erasmus Plus and enhance transparency and efficiency of the grant management.
Yes, I just we start by quoting what can say our main book, the Erasmus Guide, because it hasn't changed since 2021, something that never changed. That in line with the principles of the HEI should implement digital management of student mobility in line with the technical standards of European Student Card Initiative. So you may know that within this kind, the European Commission wants to have an higher education area which is ready for the digital era with interconnected systems. You are all quite aware of EWP, of course, and this objective of digitalization of mobility management of students. Grant management is not within the core of EWP right now, but it's something that we need to think of because it's a need for you of it. One of the characteristics can say of Erasmus Goes Digital is that it's based on projects developed and proposed by institutions, by the field. EWP itself was a university project lead. So he thinks that can be a good thing for the program, just to have something that it can be easier. It should ease the administration workload for everyone. It's at the beginning it can be quite a tough and overload workload, but it can at the end be quite benefits both for institution to have a transparency and be able to have this traceability of students from within international office, just to be able to check if the grant is paid and not having just to phone to the colleague of financial department, say, did you pay the grant or not? So it can be most efficient use of time for everyone. Of course, as I've seen in the screenshots, it can be a good thing for students just to be aware of if the money is coming or not, and really think it's really a big good thing and good for students to know the grant, the amount, and if it's going paid when, and if he has something to do. Because I totally agree. Many times, in many cases, what is missing is a document from the student. So if the student is not aware, it's always a good thing. So just to be sure, I think it's kind of a good thing. It doesn't have to be, I think, compulsory, but it can be a good tool, added tool, as any of the things in the EWP ecosystem. Like, for example, the ESVAL, the e-signature project, also it can be something added. And you have to keep in mind thinking that all things you are doing around this digitalization of student mobility management has to be compatible with APIs and the EWP system as a whole. and to be think in it. So I really think that your project can be a good thing for universities, institutions, to smooth this management, which can be quite of something that can be an irritant part of mobility for students, for administration also.
Financial agency, it's not a passive. In the way, know that we are doing, I think, to currency, and then we have seen during the presentation of the platform of the proof of concept, that still a validation is needed before process the payments. How do who says validation says checking of data, and so how do you balance from a financial point of view? How you balance the pressure to deliver mobility grants in time with the need for full validation to avoid errors and false information?
So financial department works closely with the International Relation United, which manages all the entire mobility process, following a procedure without paper, and validating all the stages of digital process. So the activities until the payment are developed on NONU, which is the student academic systems. So all the data is authenticated there. The contract is signed there. The document from the bank to confirm the number account is there, and students can follow the process, but they can't see anything about the payments. The payment secret take place on another platform, but is only for the internet service. But is also digital without paper. We pay only when we confirm the rights in the hands of the activities. We need a stamp, but we are thinking change this routine to try before pay before they go. So we don't pay before, but our concern is try to create conditions to that the students receive a grant as soon as possible. So we try bring forward some steps of the operational circuit that when we have to pay more validations as already completed. Our average payment time is 10 days, but we hope improving this process. Before, after the international relations united request the payments. So they validate that the students arrive, confirm the beginning of the activities, and request financial department, and in average 10 days to pay. It's big for the student.
Yes. Well, for the student, the idea is to be paid as soon as he or she arrives, of course. But when we certify that everything is accomplished, we request internally in our in-house system for the financial department to pay, to do that validation and to transfer the money to bank account. And usually we have 10 following days, and then the student receives. We have some exceptions, of course, when you have lots of work in the financial department, but it's not the rule. So the rule is 10 days for the student to receive the money. And then we have the exceptions, of course.
This year's more or less 19% received in 15 days, 19%.
Do you see the education amounts, for instance, when the international office send you the list of students,
when we receive the amount, when we know how much we will receive from the national agency, we do, I don't know how to say that in English, but we somehow validate and get the authorization, the superior authorization to use that amount to pay scholarships to pay the grants for the students. So each time we receive, imagine in the beginning in August or September, it's when we receive, when our students arrive, I don't know, 200, 300 students in once, we submit an Excel file, okay, to the financial department, and all that information, so the name of the student, the IBAN, the VAT number was already checked beforehand. So it's just the time for them to receive. They will only pay, they will only say yes to the payment of that specific amount that we, the International Relations Unit, say to be paid. So beforehand, before the academic activities start, we not only get authorization to pay that big amount to all the students that said they wanted to go abroad, but also we check the IBAN number, SWIFT code, the VAT number, their addresses, the complete name. So everything is checked by us, the International Relations, and also by the financial department. Both, yes. It's a double verification because they need to create the suppliers in the financial system. So when they are creating, they somehow double check the information. And then the amount we used, well, when we put information on the beneficiary module, we know the exact amount that we will pay. And then we'll pay 80 when they arrive. And then the last 20% after they submit the report, the European Commission's report.
And do you think the mega concept can help somewhat in this process?
Well, if it is able to be fitted with our internal systems, well, it will be wonderful to say today. That's why I was also asking if it can be paid the following day. It will be wonderful to say, yes, you can pay to these students, and they will receive in the, I don't know, 2 or 3 following days.
So we have many integrated systems. In another cases, we integrate the system, and the automatism minimize many manual tasks, and with a significant impact on our performance. So, in my opinion, a similar solution for paying grants would be
wonderful.
We have this experience, the integrated systems.
Other question, one of maybe the long-term broad objective of NAIA is to automatically launch the payment once the conditions are met. Let's suppose, for instance, that the condition is the signature of the agreement or the confirmation of arrival, that the API somewhat it launch automatically payment without further implementation. So this automatic payment do you think that is a possibility?
Yes.
And you think it's feasible?
Yes, as long as the legal conditions have met, I think it's interesting. Yes. Like another similar process that we have in university that integrate and whole run automatic. Difficult.
Okay, I think it's possible, of course.
but I see problem in our internal processes, our, for example, IT provider and so on. I think it's not impossible, yeah, but there is also important good communication, how to communicate, and that is important, yeah. Yeah. But you know, in our institutions, I think it's basically the same, that there are some like fixed structures, and sometimes it's difficult to convince them that we could do things in different way. So I think this is like a problem I see there. And also I think that our IT providers will come with their proper solution, not to contract our mega IT application and so on, but they will tell us, hey, but we can do the same.
Oh, that's good. We have no time to send.
Yeah, I know, but you know, as a part of mega team, I would like to have a solution.
But you, from a national agency perspective, do you think that this
on this kind of automatization, I think we don't have quite an opinion. It's up to you. I think as you, we all as national agencies sometimes try to better things that can be done automatically by people. I think, for example, checking bank account students and sending the address of a student from one system to another can be done automatically without human. It's a better task that can be done automatically. It's good, but remind that you have always to keep a human interaction at the end of it. And even if I take a role as national agency for control, the responsibility will always be yours. Even if the system is automatical, you will always keep the thing. But I think it can be a good thing, because all the tasks of automatization that be done, that be save time for you to look after students or mobility or tasks that really matters to improve quality of mobilities at the end.
I think it is Simone, Mega Project aims to speed up the grant disbursement to students and enhance transparency, as we have seen. From a student perspective and ESN perspective, do you think that our solution, based on what we have seen today, and what we have the opportunity to do today, we think that our solution can increase inclusion in a way, and by allowing timely and short delay of payments and plus exception. Yeah.
Okay, I will start by saying that actually, I think that the platform proposed actually goes to support the students, apart from the peer opportunities that they have, but allowing, as you said, a more direct communication toward the students. Maybe I'm biased because I'm waiting for my Erasmus Plus scholarship, but I see that a lot of time this kind of information left to students, and they create actual stress and anxiety when we just saw that a platform could try to solve this problem. I still think, as you were saying, that it's difficult to solve problems just with a solution. I think this is it's part of a bigger package of activities and action that we could take toward a more inclusive Erasmus Plus. I think that increasing communication is essential. Still a lot of students affirm that they lack the knowledge on how and which person to refer when they have kind of issues. And for example, I also I'm still a student, so I consider myself also as a bit as a voice of the students. But I think that there is lack of knowledge on, for example, what happened. I think that a lot of students don't actually know that the grants come when they have signed the agreement or after they submit the proof of their arrival to the to the hosting destination. So I think that also this kind of activity should be improved, but the app, of course, I call it app, but this platform actually could improve also by allowing to receive payment before actually coming to the host destination, which is one of the major problems of students. Nowadays, still a lot of students can go on mobility thanks to their family contribution if they have money saved or, for example, if they work. But it's also important to have the knowledge and also consider that not all the students may have the support of the family, may have the privilege to work. A lot of internship are still unpaid, so they may be asked to work, but they cannot save any money. And especially when actually Erasmus nowadays is not anymore a matter of, okay, I'm going abroad. In Nicoletta and Mario Draghi's report, I like how mobility and this interconnection, this flows between research, innovation, and education are essential for the development of Europe, for the competitiveness of European Union at global level. So I think that allowing more students to go on mobility and speak to the field that if they go for higher education, for adult learning, is essential to promote this kind of opportunities, since this also will impact the European future.
Thank you very much. Complete answers. And to everyone now, maybe last reflection, last question. What is your dream for the future of the grant management? What is your ideal situation if you were to have an ideal? Maybe something we
I can go. Actually, I had a few, as I said before, I had a few things written. But actually, I changed my mind after the conference, and I really think that my dream is a more transparent communication between higher education institutions, national agencies, and students. And once again, I think that this platform is a step forward to achieve this goal.
Thank you very much for this very kind and very encouraging words. Lenka, your dream.
Okay, my dream. My dream is there is a structure, internal procedures, with IT system, IT tools, where as here in our mega solution, where all parties can participate, also actively participate. Yeah, you know, asking questions, for example, students with where they see that something is wrong, they could directly, by the application, they could directly contact the responsible person of each part of the process. Also, I think it's also important that all parties have clear also they like rights, obligation, responsibilities. Yeah, and that's it.
well, in our case, with the platform for the students part, will be the reducing or well, the reduce the number of emails and contacts regarding the grant payment, as they can see how is in which stage is the payment. So it would be wonderful. Yes.
Yes, from my point of view, I think I will sum up what all of you have said, is to have a simple and secure system, because it's quite important. Also, because when we are dealing with financial data, it's quite personal data and quite important to secure also the system, to make it simple for everyone, to allow this transparency and communication for students and with all systems. And if I speak as an European, as a Erasmus program management, it's for us that this can be a stone within a whole ecosystem, which will be all linked together. And for us as national agency, if we can have a data collection, a data secure, to check on a real balance, the use of funds from institutions, it can be a really good way just to better our distribution when we have to do it, to secure it. And of course, and I will do it up to from beneficiary module to the student to the payment, all things to be linked and working all together smoothly.